I'm Faye Watt, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Fort Lauderdale's mayor's partner arrested for alleged assault. The live-in partner of Fort Lauderdale's mayor, Dean Trantalis, was arrested on Tuesday, accused of physically assaulting the mayor and dragging him across the road last week. Police says 34-year-old Daniel Curran faces charges of battery on a person 65 or older, a felony, and violating an injunction for protection against domestic violence. Curran had lived with the 72-year-old mayor since March 2025. In September, Trantalis obtained a restraining order against Curran after alleged violent threats. Despite that order, the mayor later allowed him back, hoping Curran would seek counseling and attempt to better himself. The affidavit says the latest attack happened Saturday when Curran pushed and dragged Trantalis about 15 feet, injuring his wrist, leg, and knee. Curran also allegedly took the mayor's keys. Trantalis testified Friday saying, quote, "I thought maybe there was some way to rehabilitate Danny, and I failed at that. He threw me to the ground," end quote. Curran's attorney called the incident self-inflicted. A judge has set bond at $6,000 and ordered no contact with the mayor. An emergency court hearing for a permanent restraining order is scheduled later this week. The incident draws attention to relationship abuse that can affect LGBTQ plus couples. You know, this story is not easy. I consider Dean Trantalis a colleague and someone who has led Fort Lauderdale in such an incredible way. I work in Fort Lauderdale. I spend my money in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is ingrained in my everyday. And yes, the mayor is the mayor first, okay? And he does that job splendidly. But just like any of us in any kind of relationships, that things happen. You know, there are three sides to the story, and we don't know exactly what happened behind closed doors. I don't think that domestic assault is right or correct. It's a very sad state of affairs. I have been, let's just say that LGBTQ plus people, we love passionately and we love really hard. And unfortunately, there's a line that gets blurred sometimes, and he stepped over it, and he shouldn't have. And you know, it's a hard story to talk about just because of how I feel about Dean, right? And I've heard the horrible things that people have put online because people are horrible, you know, and I doubt that it's something that's going to be finished or taken care of tomorrow, you know. Toxic relationships, I don't know anybody who hasn't been in one, you know, and unfortunately you make some choices that affect your livelihood. You know, this story could be way worse. And unfortunately, I mean, we're telling it because Fort Lauderdale, this made national news. Okay. It was in the New York Post. All right. That Fort Lauderdale's mayor was assaulted by his partner. Yeah. You know, it's not a good look for us. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. I don't like to read the story. But it's the news, and that's why we're telling it.
You know, I couldn't agree more, Faye. And I greatly admire and respect Dean so much. I think he's done a lot for our community, and he continues to do that. But I also like to take it a slightly different way. One of the things that I think we have an opportunity with this story, we wish both of them all the best. This is obviously incredibly difficult. But this story also highlights in what other place might mayor's love life who's openly gay make news, and that is like to also see about what it means for him to live his authentic life. And here, unfortunately, that this was a different take on that, right? But it also shows that he's always authentically himself, and the fact that he's not living a closeted life or something. No, exactly. He's very openly who he is, and I want to highlight that too, and also just the kind of the difficulties of it. It's an opportunity to shine light on the difficult aspects of gay relationships and all relationships, right? It's domestic violence, it's intergenerational relationships. Yeah. These are sometimes people think of these only in straight, in straight couples, or to also say these are some of the challenges we have within our own community that we really need to talk about and find space for. So
I just wish the media will not treat it with double standards, because we see a lot of that. Because these are gay folks, but this happens between heterosexual couples. All the time. Right. They don't even make it to the media. You never even find out. Or, and it goes on for years. And but no, because, this is where the gays go to Fort Lauderdale, and this unfortunately makes it national a scandal, and it feeds that storyline that we don't want, that narrative that we are not fit for a stable relationships and partnership, and that's what I don't like about this. That is the double standard.
No, I agree, and probably many people, like I was trolling, right? The comments and stuff like that on Facebook that people were writing when another local news outlet posted the story, and like you said, those comments would not be there if it was a straight couple, right? If it was, it just wouldn't be, you know, talking horrible things about the age gap, and that they call like our community is all toxic all the time, and that's not the case, Trini?
Well, I mean, it's obviously an awful thing to happen. I mean, in public or in private. I grew up in domestic abuse, and it's scarred me my whole life. I am also considering running for public office. So I was just talking with somebody, not too long ago, and I think consciously about who I'm around, what I'm doing, and who I'm dating, because I do think something like this can come back and bite you in the ass, And I think I don't know if it's necessarily a double standard of having this level. I do think that this is kind of a little bit on the unique side for sitting officers in whatever position. So it's awful, and I think that it shouldn't be a scar to him on his record of what he's doing in the community, because it can happen to anybody, and it does happen to everybody, and probably the stories that you didn't hear is because they had a really great PR team that was covering it up. So consider who you are dating, what you're trying to do with your life, and move forward with it, and I wish the best for both of them.
Well said. If anything, it shows the humanity of all of us, right? That is how this can happen to anyone, right? Anyone,
and that he's brave enough, to say, listen, this happened to me. I'm a man of a certain age, right? Because that also has to, you have to be so macho when you're just being a man, period, right? But being a man of a certain age and being the mayor of this incredible city, that couldn't be easy to face those kind of facts, right?
Well said.
And that scrutiny. So,
we wish them.
More will come out of this, and I hope that Danny gets some help. How about that? There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.